Hey everybody, happy Halloween and welcome to Comics Revisited here on Pop Culture Philosophers. Today, we're talking about Hellboy.
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 That's right everybody, happy Halloween on behalf of everybody here at Pop Culture Philosophers. Happy Halloween. Today on Comics Revisited, we're talking about Hellboy. That's right, the entire saga of Hellboy. And I am Rockin, Robbie Billups, and this is
Brooks.
the Magnificent. And today, like I said, talking about Hellboy right here. The new omnibus editions of Hellboy are amazing, Brooks. This is what we reread. 1, 2, 3. 3's the biggest one. And 4, right? Yeah. Hellboy in Hell, The Wild Hunt, Strange Places, and Seed of Destruction. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. What I really like about these new editions of the Hellboy book is that they take the main story, everything that gets to the meat and potatoes of who Hellboy is and what his purpose is and him fighting against that purpose. All that is here. And then all the secondary stuff, all the side stories are in, like, the short story omnibus collections, which you didn't read.
Yeah, I read. I did have. I read. I think it was the one that I own is the Troll Witch and others.
Yes,
which had a good few.
Yeah, it has a bunch of them. But they're good stuff, and you read some of the other stuff like that. You've read the Corpse and the Coffin, all that stuff, right? So that's what we're talking about. Hellboy's main story. We're talking about the entire Hellboy saga in this video. We're going to run right through it. So the first thing I want to ask, because anybody that follows this channel knows that I love Hellboy. It's one of my favorite comic books. I think it's the best new comic book character in the last 30, 40 years, to be honest with you. Since Jack Kirby's New Gods, I think this is the best thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just a little bit. I absolutely love Mike Mignola's work. Mike Mignola was a comic book artist. He started doing some stuff in the early 80s. He kept going through. He did work at DC. He did Cosmic Odyssey. He did Gotham by Gaslight, which they made that animated film based on. He did that with Brian Augustin. He's an amazing creator, but I really think he hit his stride here on Hellboy, his own creator-owned stuff. So he did all this work for hire. Now he wants to create something on his own. He wants to take everything he loves, which is like old Universal monster movies and old silent horror films, like old horror films, basically, and folklore, and just everything macabre and like everything. One of my favorite things about Hellboy is that it's international in its like appeal towards hauntings and folklore.
It kind of touches on all kinds of different folklores.
Absolutely. Speaking of touching on all kinds of different folklores, Brooks, what do you think overall? What do you think about Hellboy, and why should people read it?
I like Hellboy a lot, and it's a nice change of pace, when you read a lot of superhero stuff, to have something kind of a little more dark and, a little slower,
Yeah.
Something
moody,
that
atmosphere.
Something that has like the atmosphere and and the artwork in Hellboy is especially really good about that, lots of deep, dark shadows and stuff, and skeletons.
Yeah.
And all kinds of crazy shit.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. If you haven't read Hellboy, the monsters are the greatest. If you haven't read Hellboy, we're going to throw links down below to these big-ass omnibuses that really collect everything all in. It's a very easy to collect saga.
I like it when they do it, bigger volumes, like to do with the Usagi Yojimbo.
Oh yeah.
Like those are nice. I was like, I'd rather have just that big chunk.
I'm glad that you mentioned Usagi Yojimbo, because Usagi, Madman, Hellboy,
all,
they made
all Dark Horse
and Sin City. They made Dark Horse comics.
Yeah,
those they made them, man.
Dark Horse. I always liked Dark Horse because it was like the biggest company that could actually, publish independent comics and actually sell them. You know? So, it was good. We had Marvel and you have DC, but those are more restrictive. Yeah. There are only certain books you can usually work on. Like maybe they'll let a creator, do his own book every once in a while. But Dark Horse is a company for, just independent comics. There's no, Dark Horse universe or any shit like that. It's just, Yeah.
Well, they did try some shit one time with, Ghost and all that stuff. But, yeah, it didn't work. But yeah, they were really after like the idea of creator-owned titles. Sin City, Hellboy, Madman, Next Men, all that stuff, right?
They're better than Image did
Grendel,
too.
right?
Yeah,
All that,
Grendel.
Now, Image had come up right after, but like to me, Dark Horse is the indie powerhouse of the 90s until Oni Press.
Yeah.
Right? But like quintessential independent creator-owned comics. Fantastic stuff. This is even pre-Vertigo Explosion, right? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the story. I'm going to go ahead and warn you there are spoilers for Hellboy right now. If you've never read it, you really should. We've already told you that. Check out the links below, read the book, then come back for this video. If you've already read Hellboy, let's do it.
Do it.
The first book is Seed of Destruction. The very first Hellboy books, right? So all this stuff is the books, the stories that are telling Hellboy's ongoing saga, right? And Hellboy, of course, is the son of a witch.
Yeah.
And
a witch
demon.
who tried to redeem herself before she died.
Yeah, but it didn't work.
Yeah.
That's the chain coffin where they reveal that, right? That's in Seed of Destruction, is it not? Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, absolutely. So in this book, he finds out that he is the son of a demon, Azael, right? I believe is his name. And then a witch, although she tried to reform at the end there. It didn't quite take.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't quite take. So he is half human, half demon, right? And Hellboy has a destiny. Okay? So he came to this earth in what, like 47, something like that, right?
Yeah, like around World War II time.
Yeah, towards the end of it, actually, because
it was like their desperation play, I guess.
Rasputin, that's right, Rasputin, the character from Russian history, the guy that was believed to have been stabbed, shot, poisoned, like they tried to kill him, hanged, drowned, but he still kept coming back, whatever.
You know the guy from that Anastasia movie?
Yeah, sure, why not? No, the guy from the Hellboy movie,
He had a talking bat.
Yeah, he did, why not? So Rasputin is part of this Nazi occult program, and we do believe, and I believe it's kind of proven that the Nazis were doing like occult activity.
There's like a lot of
they were trying to find like the spear of destiny and stuff like that, right?
Like a lot of stuff dealing with Norse mythology and stuff.
Yeah, so like, and Mignola throws all that in there, and the time is there, but basically Rasputin shows up, he promises the Führer a miracle, right? But instead what he did was he brought Hellboy from because he was born in hell, and then he pulled him from hell into our world, right?
Yeah.
And that's where Professor Broom finds him, because he doesn't show up where Rasputin and his Nazi buddies are. Right?
Yeah, it's like he knows that he's there, he just doesn't know where he is.
Yes. But he's called forth Hellboy, who basically, and as I said, spoilers, Hellboy is the beast of the apocalypse. As they call it, the Anung Unrama. And the whole point is that Rasputin and others throughout this series are trying to bring about the destruction of Earth with the return of the Elder Gods.
Yeah, they're trying to do like a controlled apocalypse type deal.
Yeah.
Like basically like we'll just wipe out the earth and then we'll remake it. Like
they're
we'll survive and remake it,
And they're going to remake the race of man as frogmen, and that's something that really gets kind of taken and thrown into the BPRD books, right? But one of the things I love about Seed of Destruction, Brooks, is that it takes this whole... It starts small and builds this entire universe. Like, Mignola did such a great job with this. And it's also very Lovecraftian. Yeah. The idea that there are these 7 imprisoned elder gods out in space that don't give a fuck about Earth, right? They don't give a hell about... They don't give a damn about us. They don't give a damn about humanity, right? That's cosmic horror. That's like existential horror.
Like Lovecraft.
It's Lovecraftian.
That's, in a way, Hellboy's kind of like Lovecraft meets Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Sort of.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Like, to be honest with you, right? So
Hellboy is kind of a humorous character. He's always like, cracking jokes and everything. Yeah. He's actually a pretty lighthearted character.
It is. So Seed of Destruction is the early tales. Some of them, the very first book was co-written by John Byrne. He did the dialogue. Mike Mignola wrote the entire story, though. From that point forward, Mike Mignola is pretty much the sole writer of the actual Hellboy saga. But then he expands that world out through BPRD, Witchfinder, Lobster Johnson. There's so much out there, right? So this first book is about the origins of Hellboy. Hellboy finding out about those origins through Rasputin, right? Because even though Rasputin brought him up, he didn't encounter Rasputin for the first time until the 90s.
Yeah.
Right? And these are in chronological order, and I love that bit. Then he does a story about the Romanian vampire and Hecate, the witch goddess, the snake and the Iron Maiden and all that stuff. And then the Wolves of St. August is in there, which was the second Hellboy story, the one that Mignola wrote the dialogue for the first time. And it also has the chained coffin in here, right? Which is where he finds out about his origin. What do you think about the first initial wave and how it ties into the overall theme and story of Hellboy? The idea that he's a demon introduced to the world of man, but he wants to live as a man. And when this book starts, he already has like a 50-year history?
Yeah,
40,
like
50
he's been
years?
around for a while, he knows people who have aged, who are like really old from back in World War II days. He's familiar with a lot of older folks, I guess you can say.
Yeah. And Professor Broom himself, someone, especially through the movies, how they've added so much character and depth to that. And in the auxiliary books, they've done that as well.
Yeah.
But that relationship is only hinted at the very beginning, because Broom dies in the first book.
Yeah.
But they really get into all of it from the get-go, right? Out of all those stories, what's your favorite? Is it Seed? Is it Wake? Is it Wolves of St. August? Is it The Chained Coffin? Wake, The Devil, Almost Colossus. That's a great one, too. I really like Wolves of St. August. That's a great werewolf story.
I think probably The Chained Coffin.
Okay.
My favorite.
The origin.
Yeah. I thought that was I like that. Kind of a peek into Hellboy's origin.
Absolutely. So once Hellboy realizes that there's a key to him, he is somehow supposed to be the beast of the apocalypse. He's supposed to be responsible for the death of humanity, the end of the world, and the rise of a new age, which, of course, Hell interprets as the age of demons, right? So then we go into Strange Places. In Strange Places, it starts with Conqueror Worm. Well, it builds into that. It does the Right Hand of Doom, Box Full of Evil, all that stuff. It builds into Conqueror Worm. That's the next big shift. At the end of Conqueror Worm, that was kind of the last Nazi story.
Yeah.
So Mignola got away from the idea of the tie-in to the Nazis and all that stuff. Though that's great and it's fun. It feels pulpy. It feels Indiana Jones-esque. But in Strange Places, at the end of Conqueror Worm, he quits the BPRD. Because this entire time, so Hellboy shows up, right? And he's adopted by Professor Broom, right? Who is his father. He gets granted by the United Nations honorary human status, right? And joins the BPRD. So he is now living as a human, helping protect humans from monsters, when he himself is a monster, right?
He's so personable, people just kind of in this universe just kind of take it for granted, oh, it's just Hellboy.
Yeah.
He's not really. They don't really ever have anybody freak out about him, oh.
They all just know he's there.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things about the character of Hellboy is that he's very blue collar.
Yeah.
He's like, this is his job.
He's an everyman.
He's like, there's a giant Cthulhu monster over there.
Guess I better go kick its ass.
Yep. And the most common thing I think Hellboy says in these books is, oh, crap. Right?
That and screw you.
Screw you, and, well, that was unexpected, right? I love it. Strange Places, he quits the BPRD. He goes on this really weird random journey. He goes to Africa for a while.
Yeah.
He meets this shaman there.
He gets these visions. Under the ocean for a while.
Ends up under the ocean. He's there for years floating around, but this is the moment where he's going through the dark parts of his soul. Where he has just found out he's meant to be the end of the world.
I see it's kind of like his spirit walk in a way.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Elaborate.
It's like, he's going through this journey. He doesn't really have he doesn't have a destination in mind. He's just wandering, and, and through his wanderings, he's, running across things and finding out more about himself.
Yeah.
And learning about himself and, where he wants to do and what direction he wants to go.
Yeah, and apparently for a while he just wants to float around the ocean for a couple
and drink with skeletons.
Yeah, I love it. And that's another thing is Hellboy has some substance abuse problems, and that's something that's dealt with in the story, and it's dealt with in a kind of very cool way. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But they do deal with it because in the Wild Hunt he gives it up.
Yeah. Because
what Hellboy's doing is he's running away, right?
Yeah.
So in Seed of Destruction, he finds out that he's meant to be the beast of the apocalypse. His big stone right hand is the right hand of doom. It is the key to unlock the apocalypse and bring the Agru Jahad back to Earth. The Elder Gods, right? Bigger and badder than Cthulhu. Lovecraft couldn't even think of the cosmic horror involved in these 7 demons that are in fact one, right? Imprisoned in crystalline shells out in deep cosmic space. All space is cosmic. Anyway, but now
redundancy alert.
It sends him to strange places, right? He's avoiding it, right? So he's avoiding it through the bottle. He's avoiding it through just like wandering around the earth. But it always finds him. And it's a thread in every single story in this book. And this book, like, I love Seed of Destruction stuff. But this starts getting really ethereal, really Jungian, like Carl Jung, really getting into the idea of archetypes and dreams and visions. Like, this is Hellboy's acid trip. This is his awakening, in a way, you know? And I absolutely love it. Then we have The Wild Hunt, the biggest section, right? And this artwork is done by Duncan Fegredo. Mike Mignola, at this point, couldn't keep up with it, right? Just didn't. He wanted to get the story going. This is where the meat of the Hellboy story starts. Like, really gets going. Basically, Hellboy finds out, of course, through his demon lineage, he could be a ruler of hell, the destructor of mankind, but he's also a son of King Arthur.
He's the King of England.
King of England. Explain that and how it ties in, because basically what happens is Hellboy ignoring and denying his role as the king of hell or the bringer of the apocalypse really kind of puts a lot of other creatures, especially fairies and other folkloric creatures. Is folkloric a word?
Like Celtic.
Yeah, stuff. Like they really get into the Celtic stuff. Now the Baba Yaga stuff really comes back Russia. In here. That's a Russian thing. And then the demon that winds up, it's from the Iron Shoes. That's actually in a short story, but he's the one that's the big pig monster.
Oh, yeah.
He's 2 people that have a grudge against Hellboy that bring it up. And then basically what happens is the witches come to Hellboy and say, we want you to be our king because you are a son of a demon. Yeah. And you could be the ruler of hell, right? He refuses that, right?
That's the kind of a running theme with Hellboy is people trying to tell him what to do, and he's like, no.
Screw you. As you said.
It's like everybody's always like, it is your destiny, Hellboy. He's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Just shut up.
So this book is really all about his destiny. And he's got this destiny to be the end of the world, but he also has this destiny to be the king of England, the king of the witches, the king of the fairies, the king of folklore, basically, right? He refuses all of it, but there is that badass moment where he does pull Excalibur out. Yeah. He does take on that role for a brief moment. It keeps going. This is where all the Blood Queen stuff comes from, because he refuses to be the leader of the Celtic underworld, basically. Yeah. They find the Blood Queen, she's so evil, she got cut up into different pieces, put all over the world. That pig dude's all like in love with her, like, oh, let's resurrect you, we're going to do it, we're going to be here. But they ultimately come together. She gets taken over by the Agru Jahad, right? So she literally becomes this like cosmic horror demon, dragon thing. So Hellboy, with Excalibur, has to slay the fucking dragon. Right? So it really, in all of Hellboy, did you ever think it was going to wind up with Arthurian legend? I sure didn't, but it works and it makes sense.
Yeah, it's not something that would surprise me, but it isn't what I would expect, really.
Yeah. This is what they did in that new Hellboy movie.
Yeah.
They really got to the point too quickly in that movie.
Yeah, they needed a movie to build up to that.
Oh, yeah. At least 1 or 2, right?
Yeah.
Right? What do you think overall about The Wild Hunt? Duncan Fegredo took over as the artist. It's different, but it still keeps that same atmospheric tone and moodiness to it. So I like the artwork. I love the story. It's big, it's epic, and he's ready. Like, at this point, Mignola, because it had been a long time from the creation of Hellboy till this stuff started, right? So Mignola was like, I'm ready to get to the end game. We're going to do it. And to be honest, it is the end game because Hellboy dies at the end of this.
Well, I mean, it's ramping up, in this one, and, things are moving a little faster.
Yes.
There's, like, a lot more action, like...
The stories get bigger, though.
Yeah.
Like an 8-issue arc, for instance, you know, with the Wild Hunter Darkness Falls.
I kind of feel bad for Hellboy because he's going through all this shit, like just one crazy thing after another.
He quits the BPRD, and then his life is never the same.
Well, he was planning to go back before he died.
Yeah, he wanted to go back to help out.
Yeah.
But he couldn't. It was so sad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But look at
what... he had, like, a lot of friends, too, you know?
And he left them behind.
Yeah.
Liz, Abe,
Alice.
Roger.
Alice was Alice?
Alice is the baby.
She was the baby.
We're talking about. There's Liz and there's what was her name? The blonde lady. Yeah, oh my goodness. Kate.
Yeah, Kate.
Yes. So he does leave these people behind. He finds new romance. Actually, Hellboy falls in love in the Wild Hunt book. You know, and I love it, and it makes sense. But it's still tragic. But it's still very much Hellboy. And it's all tied in together, and all these bits come back into fruition. And this could be, like, Hellboy could end here. This could be the end of it.
Yeah.
But we still haven't dealt with him being the demon of the apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
That comes in, Hellboy in Hell. So it ends up with Mike Mignola returning on the artwork and doing this masterful and elegant reinterpretation of Dante's Inferno and Paradise Lost and all this other mythology and folklore about hell. He throws it all together in this wonderful book that explores hell and really puts the final touch and nuance to Hellboy's story. What do you think about Hellboy in Hell?
I like Hellboy in Hell a lot. It was I think it was so hard for someone writing a story to get the ending right. And I think Hellboy in Hell is a good ending for Hellboy, the main Hellboy story.
It's almost an anticlimactic ending, is it not?
Yeah, a lot of Hellboy's fights are anticlimactic, though. It's like,
Yes.
It's just a couple of panels, and
they end really quick, right?
But it's just Hellboy standing over a dead monster.
It's a direct line into the, collective consciousness of folklore and mythology, in a way. It, hits right to you. I love it, and so... This book is awesome, and the way it ends to me is very sad. Of course, Hellboy dies, but he goes to hell, and now it's his destiny to take over hell. He kills Satan, but it's not really his choice, and he's kind of coerced into it. And then all these threads that we've been teased with, his uncle, we meet his family, his uncle, his brothers, his sister. We meet the hierarchy of hell in a way. But when he shows up, all the demons fucking leave, dude. They're gone. They're done. And they're like, we're getting out of here. Hellboy arrives in a hell that's kind of vacant. Yeah. And it adds this... To me, Hellboy in Hell really captures the tone of this book. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's all odd. It's all quirky. It's all funny. It's all blue collar. But it's all really super mysterious and spooky. And I really like... When people ask me what the best horror comic book of all time is, Brooks, I tell them Hellboy. Because it doesn't make you go, oh, I'm scared to go to sleep tonight. Yeah. But it makes you creeped out. There's some stories like, I'm scared of frogs now because of Hellboy. You know what I'm saying? What do you think overall about the story of Hellboy and how it fits in and how does it affect the reader?
Well, Hellboy's, it's obviously a very entertaining story.
Yeah.
And I think it's more, it's mellow kind of. Because it's so dark and creepy and atmospheric, and it's a good story to be reading around this time.
Oh, absolutely.
When the air is getting a little cooler, and you can sit on the couch and you'd be reading like this or some H.P. Lovecraft or Poe or something.
I grew up loving and still love Victorian horror. Mm. The Invisible Man, Dr.
There's a lot of that kind of...
is so much in here. In fact, let's look at it real quick. He does his initial story when he starts. Mignola does. Seed of Destruction, right? Setting everything up. Then he does a vampire story, right? But before that, he does a werewolf story, right?
Yeah.
And then with Almost Colossus, he does a Frankenstein story.
Yeah.
He hits all those ones he wants to do. I really wanted him to have more of a chance at a mummy story.
Yeah.
There are mummy issues. Yeah. There are mummy things in there, but not quite.
They never go full mummy.
Yeah, and there's never... Abe Sapien is your creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
He's your guild man, you know. Yeah. But Abe Sapien's involvement in the overall Hellboy story is so slight. Yeah. The BPRD is not a factor.
Yeah, Liz isn't even in a whole lot of
it. It's only in the very beginning. Because he quits. He quits because they put a bomb in Roger. Yeah. And I love it. I love that what did they call him? Homunculus?
Homunculus, yeah.
Homunculus. Made out of like herbs and dried leaves and shit like that, right? I love it. He did do all of those. He did the Dracula story, he did a Wolfman story, and he did a Frankenstein story, right? And then he, at that point, kind of wrapped up the Nazi stuff, threw in aliens and UFOs, you know, out of nowhere. And it works. Yeah. Like, I love... Dude, the alien ghosts are some of my... Like, Conqueror Worm may be one of my favorites.
Yeah, I think it's my favorite, probably.
And one of my favorite villain, aside from Rasputin, might be Von Klimt. The head... the Nazi head in a jar with his... And he's like, you can talk? You know, I love that stuff, man. Strange Things, though, or Strange Places, that really gets so weird. He's, like, lost in a sea of, like, demonic jellyfish, and he's got these spirit visions with this African shaman... And the witches,
evil fish woman.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, because mermaid women, like, and they get the 3 wishes. Oh my god, that's such a good story. That is quintessential Hellboy to me. When Mike Mignola is doing Hellboy and it's at its best, it's creepy, it's atmospheric, it's all those things. So obviously, Mike Mignola pulls a lot from folklore. Alan Moore said that it's like German expressionism meets Jack Kirby. That's exactly it. It's like your favorite. And because the Universal horror films from the 30s were definitely influenced by German expressionistic films like Nosferatu and The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari, right? Those stories, those films influenced Universal. That influenced Mignola. So you take that, but Mignola's a comic book guy, and he knows who the king of comics is, and that's Jack Kirby. So you throw Kirby's exciting, crackling energy in with that like German expressionistic universal horror vibe, you get Hellboy. And I love it. What do you think about the style overall of the book?
I love this book, like the art style.
Oh, yes.
Whether it's Mignola or anybody else, like they always get the right, you know, they get the right art for the book, you know.
Yes.
To capture the mood, you know. They can't, because with Hellboy, the mood is like, it's one of the biggest things, you know.
Yes.
You got to have that atmospheric, moody type, you know, thing going on.
Absolutely. You know, and my favorite artist...
I can't imagine, like, Rob Liefeld drawing Hellboy.
It would be a different game.
It'd be different.
It'd be a different game. My favorite comic book artist of all time is Jack Kirby. My number 2 is Mike Mignola. My number 3, in case you were wondering, is Francisco Francavilla. That's my top 3, right there. You understand the kind of comic book art I like if you know those 3 artists. I absolutely love the style of this book. I love the dialogue. There's like a page or 2 of extra. I love the books where he does where it's just a really nice thin story with a nice hook at the end, and then he gives you all the exposition on one page with just an expert just sitting there, like, you know, and you know, stuff like his monkey head was never recovered, or just some random. It's very tongue in cheek at times, and I love that as well about it. The themes, we've already touched on this a little bit: fate and destiny versus choice and free will. So he is a demon. He's a devil. He is meant to be a monster.
But he's not.
But he's not, because...
It's like when he first appears, like somebody's like, oh, he's a monster. And then like somebody else says, no, he looks like a little boy.
A Hellboy.
Yeah.
That was
so like, it was I think I like especially the stuff he does with young Hellboy.
Yes.
Like showing him his upbringing, you know, with Professor Broom and everything.
Pancakes.
Because he's so cute.
Yes, he is.
And there's like
I love him.
There's like a part in
and his dog.
Yeah.
Oh man, you need to read the Hellboy and BPRD stuff, because it goes through the 50s and it gets sad.
Yeah. Well, and there's a flashback in, I think, one of the last ones. It's either I think it's the one before Hellboy in Hell, but where it actually shows him like
Sword
a flashback.
And Fury?
Yeah, I think so. Where it shows him like a flashback, like it's, you know, a couple of panels of him talking to his dad, and like he's like, what am I? And I guess he's in Broom's like, you're whoever you want to be.
Yeah. This is about choice, you know? And so you could easily say this story is about the monster inside. So much when the monster is so obvious in someone like Hellboy's case. Yeah. But people still pretend like he's human, right? He is human. It's nurture versus nature as well, right? Yeah. But Hellboy is meant to be this monstrous demon of the apocalypse.
Like, he doesn't have any of the features that, he's not hungry for power. He doesn't care about, hurting people.
He's a regular guy.
Yeah, he's just a guy who just wants to, go through life and do what he wants to do.
The monster idea of him, the Ognung Unrama, right? Deals with fate, destiny. You are going to, you're like Brooks, whatever crappy or good things that are going to happen in your future, they're already set. It's going to happen. You have no choice. Might as well just ride it to the end, right?
Yeah.
Not really. This book is about how important choice is. Choice over destiny. We have the free will to make our destiny. He was set to bring about the apocalypse. He did bring about the apocalypse. To hell. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, he chose to be human. And the humanity. This is one of the most human stories I've ever read in a comic book. And it's about a fucking demon from hell, dude. So, what do you think, your final thoughts on the idea of the monster and the human representing destiny versus free will and choice?
Yeah.
To me, choice is the most important part of this book. We have the choice to choose who we want to be. And we are who we are by the choices we make to do. And Hellboy always chooses to do the right thing. He's always trying to do the right thing.
Like,
gotta go tell him the good news.
Hellboy's like the hero wrapped in the monster,
Yeah.
It's like, because, he doesn't, he has the choice to do anything he wants, but he decides to, hunt monsters.
Yeah.
That's what he wants to do. He wants to hunt monsters. He doesn't care about, he could take over the world if he wanted to. He could, he could work with Rasputin, and they could, scheme, and he would become, he could become the king of the world if he wanted to, but he doesn't care about any of that. He has all these, powers always dropped right into his way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're the king of England. You can wield Excalibur.
You're the king of hell. He always
just throws it away. He's like, I don't care about that.
Yeah. He just cares about helping out the little guy. Little guy.
That's what makes him the hero, is that he doesn't, that's all he wants to do. He wants to help people and do right by people. He doesn't want power or, people to applaud him or anything like that.
Think about the biblical story of the temptations of Christ. That's the Hellboy story.
Yeah.
It's the demons.
Somebody's always like, come on, Hellboy, we can rule the world together.
No, not at all. And he winds up having to sacrifice himself. He loses his eye for wisdom, and then he has to die. The Blood Queen snatches his heart right out.
He's always very matter-of-fact about everything, too. He's like,
oh, crap.
Oh, I'm dead? Crap.
Doesn't he say, oh, crap, after she pulls it? Like, the last thing he says, crap.
Those would be his famous last words.
Yeah, but and it ends in such a majestic way. I absolutely love this book. The importance of this book, it's Mike Mignola. It's his career. It's one of the greatest works of comic book art out there, in my opinion. Of course, it inspired 3 movies at this point, a couple animated feature films as well. 3 movies, 2 that are really good. One that's so good. Yeah, the new one was... It's not going to turn you into a Hellboy fan if you're not already.
Yeah.
I'll say that. It gets a little too far into it. Maybe they should have just made a 3rd Hellboy film and done this story. I don't know. Whatever. It also really helps cement the importance of creator-owned work in independent comics, along with books like we were talking about, Sin City, Grendel, Madman, Next Men. There was Usagi Yojimbo. There was so much work by exceptionally gifted creators. And Mike Mignola is one of them. And Mike Mignola stuck with his vision and what he wanted to do, and he did it the way he wanted to do it, and the way that he would tell a story, and he would break it up. Like, it doesn't matter if it's been a year and a half since there's been a Hellboy issue.
Yeah.
Because when we come back, we're going to be there. Yeah. And we were. And it took 30 years to tell this relatively short story.
Yeah.
But it really, really worked.
And it stayed consistent. There was a lot of the short stories thrown in there, too.
Yeah, but it stayed consistent. It was always at the same level.
I can never forget about Hellboy.
Exactly. You would always be excited when a new Hellboy... Like, if a new Madman book came out today, we'd be like, oh shit. A new Madman? Interesting. But if a new Hellboy book came out today, we'd be like,
Gotta get that Hellboy.
Get that Hellboy. Anyway, that's what we thought about it. What do you think about Hellboy? Let us know in the comments down below. And seriously, on behalf of everybody here, including me and Brooks, happy Halloween. Happy fucking Halloween. I hope you have a great one. Enjoy your night. Cause a little mischief.
Watch out for them silver shamrock.
Watch out for them silver shamrock masks.
You don't want those.
Happy Halloween.
Halloween shamrock.
Yes, absolutely. So have a happy Halloween 2019. We'll be back for Comics Revisited very soon. We are going to go on a hiatus for Comics Revisited, but we will be back very, very soon to finish out the end of Season 2, and then we'll be right back at it with Season 3. Here on Comics Revisited, we're talking about Hellboy. I've been Rockin' Robbie Billups. This has been
Brooks.
Please do like, share, and subscribe. And join us over at Pop Culture Philosophers for podcasts and a whole lot more. You dig?
Well, do you?
Do you dig? Great.
Do you dig?
Alright, that's good. Good video. Oh, I meant to show this off.
Oh.
That's where I met Mike Mignola. He signed that book.